As the corporate sector evolves, Burka Africa remains committed to cultivating world-class thought leaders and providing innovative, human-centered solutions that shape a prosperous future for African governments and businesses. About Burka Africa. Burka Africa is a platform that houses expert consultants from across the African subregion that provide strategic sustainable leadership, organizational development, corporate governance, coaching, and ESG advisory services to businesses and African governments. Burka's strategic thrust is to strengthen strategic alignment for Africa's development by bridging the gap between governments, businesses, and industry experts for leadership and business solutions, serving as a center for excellence and transformative leadership insights in Africa. The consortium is dedicated to shaping ethical, visionary, productive, and sustainable businesses and leadership across Africa. Through advisory, training, and coaching, Burka supports executives, managers, and organizations in achieving excellence, growth, and sustainable impact. Visit our website www.burkafrica.com for more information.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Switzerland to all of us joining from different parts of the world. My name is Kelsey Kukwa Godley, and it's my pleasure to be hosting and moderating for today's African Youth Leadership webinar series, brought to you by Burka Africa, Africa's growth partner. Today we are having a very important conversation, a conversation on value-based leadership, ethics, integrity, and accountability. Now, when we talk about leadership, many people think it's about titles, positions, or even influence. But value-based leadership reminds us leadership actually starts from the inside out, with values that guide our decisions, choices, actions, and our behaviors when no one is watching. For young people today, navigating school, entrepreneurship, community life, leadership is not defined by age or popularity, but by character, choices, and responsibility. And honestly, every day we are faced with moments where our values are tested by peer pressure, shortcuts, corruption, even social media. And we often realize that by the end of this session, hopefully, each of us will walk away with a clearer understanding of our personal values and practical ways to live them out through school, work, or even in our communities. Now, this is going to be an interactive and reflective conversation. So I encourage you all to just comment your opinions and your thoughts in the comment section, and let's engage, let's share thoughts, and let's listen openly. Honestly, there is no perfect answer, and we're all here to have a very interactive conversation. Burka Africa, in partnership with Guru, have a great course, great news for HR and management professionals in Liberia. It's an international professional HR certification course, and it's starting on the 7th of February, 2026. It is an online course for 10 Saturdays. This is amazing, guys. And it's from 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I encourage you all to enroll. This is something you would not want to miss whatsoever. The 15 Valuable Laws of Growth with Norel Company Limited and Burka Africa. This is another course that is starting on the 12th of February 2026, and it is also an 8-week course. It's going to be every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. EAT. The course is 250 USD, and it is such a good price for an amazing course. I entreat you all to just log in and plug in and be filled and be motivated for this year. With that said, it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers who helped to guide today's conversation. We are privileged today to be joined by two outstanding leaders whose journeys and values we're going to discuss. It reflects today's topic: ethics, integrity, and accountability. So, our first speaker, Ashraf Saladin, a national advocate for youth in leadership and a passionate voice for ethical leadership among the young people. He is a business administration graduate from the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Ghana, where he served as External Affairs President for the SRC and later a second deputy speaker for the UPSA Parliament House. This is amazing. In 2022, he was recognized as the National Best Student in Leadership by the National Academy of Students Achievement Awards Ghana, a recognition that further strengthened his advocacy for youth leadership across the country. Beyond students' leadership, Ashraf is also an entrepreneur and the founder of the Realty Bridge. It's a real estate agency, and he's currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Law at Wisconsin International University. You are very welcome, Ashraf. You are very welcome.
Thank you very much. I am grateful to be here. Thank you very much for the introduction. That's amazing.
It's a heavy introduction. You have a very long.
Yeah,
Yes.
fine. Yes.
So our second speaker is Yon David, a social impact entrepreneur, youth development and policy advocate, and the founder and managing director of Youth Development Projects Ghana. Gideon is a seasoned youth development and empowerment practitioner with expertise in youth inclusive governance, policy advocacy, and SDG aligned development initiatives. Through Youth Development Projects Ghana, he leads programs focused on youth skills development, community empowerment, and advocacy. He is also a policy programs, projects, and advocacy director at Oceanic Movement International, Nigeria, where he supports civic engagements and governance reforms across the region. Gideon has served as Youth Minister for Sanitation in the Youth Leadership Parliament Ghana, and you're very welcome, Gideon. We're glad to have you here today.
Oh, I was speaking. I didn't know that I was muted.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for having me here and giving me the opportunity to, share my thoughts and personal values on the subject of discussion. Thank you, and it's a privilege meeting you again, Ashraf, and I hope that we'll connect after the session. Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome to this webinar series. I want to start us off with a simple but important question. When you hear the word leadership, what does it mean to you as a young leader, as a young person? Do you think leadership requires a title or position? in, or can it show up in everyday? You can take this one.
So we are talking on the subject of leadership, and personally, I think that leadership is all about influence which is also built in responsibility and value creation. Yeah, that's leadership for me. It may arise as a result of taking up responsibility to address um, and solve a problem for a positive impact, which subsequently may lead to influence over the beneficiaries that you are providing that solution for. So you eventually, out of this problem solving or solution you are providing, you eventually gain followers, and the followers you get, you emanate, or you start to influence these followers. And I feel that's how you get influence, and that's how you gain leadership. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on what leadership is.
Wow, thank you. That is very interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned influence. Can you share a real example of what that looks like in your environment?
Yeah, so personally, I have been a student leader almost all my life in school, from basic school through to senior high school and through to the university. And currently, YDP Ghana, that's a whole lot of leadership journey. Let me use a typical example in senior high school. I, usually people see you as someone that sometimes people think I am born to lead, but sometimes it's how about how you carry yourself and how you're able to encourage people, how you're able to tell people what to do, what not to do, how to carry themselves in certain situations. And like I said, that's how influence is built. You're able to help them out of certain problems, certain individualistic situations, and they begin to see you, they begin to like you, they begin to love you, and then they begin to see you as somebody who is above them, and then eventually you begin to gain them as followers, and then they start listening to whatever you say, whatever you do, they follow you, and that's how you built it. So I became a senior boys prefect and SRC president in my senior high school. Out of this, people saw me as someone who was very quiet, but someone who was very firm in decision making and helping others, get closer to what they want, especially when they are going through situations that they think they cannot be out of it. So eventually, I became a part of them, because some of them, they will need representation when they are in situations that will require someone to represent them. And during the contest, they found that no, Gideon is the person that will represent us and speak on our behalf. And so, yeah, they just went for me. At a point during high school, during campaign, they asked me to go and sit down, and they were doing the campaign for me. So it was a lively experience back then. And so for me, typically, that's what leadership is about. First of all, finding a solution, creating value out of it. And then the beneficiaries see that you have been able to create some value. They begin to follow you, and then your influence, grows from there. So for me, that's what leadership is about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Building on that, leadership often becomes real when it's tested. I hope we all agree to that. This question goes for Ashraf. Can you think of a time when doing the right thing was difficult because of pressure, whether it was friends or authority, school, work circumstances? And what we're hearing already is that leadership is abstract and it shows up in everyday life. So, what is your experience?
The latter part was breaking, but I'm sure you were asking that if I've ever been in a situation where making a decision was difficult because of pressure from friends or family. Um, yes, mostly it happens, especially in the space of leadership. Before you actually attain the level of leadership, especially when it comes with the ones that you are elected for, you do so many things from talking to people, from seeking for help, financial help to do your campaigns and all of that. And mostly there are people who actually help you, manage you. Some call themselves managers. Some would give you some money to do your one or two things. Now, when you get to office and you start serving as a leader, imagine somebody who helped you when you were, seeking for the position. The person gave you money, managed you, and made you believe that this person helped you win the position. Now the person walks into your office and says that out of the 20,000 Ghana cedis that was signed for you as administrative expenses, I want you to give me 5,000 out of it, and you can, prepare some one or two things to show what you use the money for. At that point, you want to be grateful. At that point, you feel you owe this person. At that point, you feel you are indebted to them. But you need to be a leader regardless. You need to always put your followers, first. You need to always remember the values that you are leading upon, your principles, your fundamental principles. So I've been in circumstances like that, and I've always, chosen to do the right thing, even though I felt the pressure to do the wrong thing for the people who have helped me and who were close to me. I always ended up, doing the right thing, because you always have to think about tomorrow, not today's relationship.
Yeah, I fully agree. That is awesome. Now, that leads me to this question. Why do you think integrity is often tested in small, everyday decisions rather than big, dramatic moments? Why do you think integrity is always tested?
Well, when we talk about integrity is simply who you are, what you say you will do. And it is the everyday small decisions that leads to the big moments. So every day, when there is no camera, when nobody is watching, when you don't feel any sense of fame if you take the decision, when there is nothing to make you feel like, okay, I need to do this decision. Nobody is watching you. These are the times where your integrity matters, because mostly big moments are scripted. So somebody can script integrity for a big moment because there are cameras. Somebody can script accountability and script ethical manners, all because of the cameras, because of the big moments. But I believe that it is the everyday decisions that reflect our true self, our real life. And so if a leader should be tested on integrity, it should be on the everyday decisions rather than the big moments.
Yeah, that's awesome. I fully agree. Integrity and accountability goes hand in hand. For the next question, I would say, how does accountability, especially owning mistakes, change the way people trust and respect leaders? Vivian, would you like to in on this from your experience?
Am I visible? Okay, yeah. So I like to use this as an example. I like to, explain with an example. So I said with a country manager who was leading an organization, an NGO that was owned by foreigners, people in the US, and he was someone who would speak a lot of vision, but would do less. He was someone who portrayed himself as someone who wanted um, to be heard, but eventually he always avoided responsibility. He always avoided to account for his actions. He always shifted blame to people. He always, called on the owners. In their absence, he would say that they never do anything. They never listen to him. They never, want to adapt to whatever suggestions he brings on board. So eventually, the people he was leading, his staff, got to know his gimmicks, and the beneficiary of the program also got to know his gimmicks, and then the owners also got to know his gimmicks, and that is how he lost his influence. Mind you, when you are in a position or you have a title, say you're a manager, a director, you are not a leader. Okay. You are in a position of authority. Now, to become a leader, you need to make sure that your values drive you to create some level of legitimacy. And once you have that kind of legitimacy, you eventually grow into becoming a leader who, legitimacy can bring about taking responsibility and creating value. So once you have that, you grow into becoming a leader. But unfortunately, because of the fact that he was always running away from taking responsibility and being accountable, one, to the people that he was managing, to the people that he was supposed to report to, and three, to the beneficiaries. He lost everything. They were not listening to him again. The beneficiaries were no longer, they no longer trusted his opinion. They no longer trusted whatever he says, because whatever he says, it never went through. And when conversation comes out, he always shifts the blame. So he was always putting responsibility on somebody else instead of taking the responsibility. So he was never accountable to anybody. So eventually everybody got to know that this is not someone we can trust. So the moment you run away from accountability, you lose your position as a leader. You are just in a position of authority. You don't influence anybody again. And so that is just what I say about accountability. Once you avoid it, you no longer have influence over anybody. You are no longer a leader, and you lose your audience. Yeah, so I think that accountability is basically at the center of everything. Ashraf was talking about integrity, which is one of my core values, in fact, the top of it. And I think that it moves hand in hand. You can't come to public and say you have integrity as a value and you run away from accountability. This is definitely not what it is. Okay, so people go on, like you said, preaching it, scripting it, and in reality they don't live it. But these are some of the consequences. The moment you speak it without living it, you lose your value. And you lose your value of position, you lose your value of leadership, you lose your value of influence, and even within yourself, you lose yourself at a point when you realize that everybody has left you. You become alone. You know that, nobody hears me. So they now try to find ways and means to get people on their side. And so they develop another selfish value, which is lies, because they now want people to come on their side. So they develop all sort of conversations and meetups just to get people on their side. But basically, that's how people kill themselves in the area of leadership and trust and honesty and all. So when you talk about accountability, this is what I would say about it.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh yes, please, Ashraf, go on.
I think you are muted.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
You asked how accountability determines if your followers will trust you or not. And what I can say to summarize it is that I believe that when it comes to leadership, accountability is the part where a leader shows that he is human, allows himself to go through experiences of human, like making mistakes. So when a leader starts to accept that he is a human and humans can make mistakes, humans have to feel their people in on everything that they are doing. He starts to open up. He starts to let them know what is going on. He starts to apologize where necessary. And even when you meet a new partner and you start to do these things, automatically it makes them feel safe around you. So I think it's just human nature. When somebody you look up to start to open up and accept their mistake and apologize and let you know everything that is going on in their daily activities, automatically it makes you believe and trust them and feel safe around them. So it's just the part where a leader shows that, yes, I'm also human.
I think people love people who take responsibility. So once you take responsibility, you are safe. At the moment you start shifting blame, that is it. So yeah.
Yes, this has been a wonderful start. I'm enjoying the conversations and the engagements from you two. Thank you so much. What I'm hearing is that accountability doesn't weaken leadership, but it actually strengthens trust and credibility.
Yeah.
So, to just add on to the next question for Ashraf, why do you think people, including leaders, find it so difficult to admit their mistakes and actually take responsibility?
I think fear, the fear to be judged. You know, people actually, there are people who get into leadership, I mean, space, and they feel it will be wrong for them to make a mistake as a leader. Once you make a mistake, then you have done it all wrong. And the moment they make mistakes, they feel when they come out and they speak out and they accept their mistake, people are going to judge them because already he came with a perception that you are not supposed to make a mistake as a leader. And now he has made that mistake. Now he has that feeling that when I admit the mistake, I'm going to be judged because I made a mistake in a space where I'm not supposed to make a mistake. So I think it is basically the sense of fearing to be judged. But I believe that when you are actually accountable and you are responsible, if you do it the right way, nobody judges you, but they actually love you for making mistakes. People love people for making mistakes because it was until they made that mistake and admitted it and asked, apologized, that people saw that, oh, he's actually a human. He's actually cool. He actually accepts. So I think it is prudent for us to not think about judgment, but think about the value we are going to portray when we accept our mistakes and apologize. But I think the main reason is fear of judgment. I don't know
Yes.
if my friend Gideon would add.
Yes, please, Gideon. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think he has made a good point. And one thing also is that, when you're in a position of leadership, one thing you should know is that as one of your values is taking responsibility. And so if you try to run away, for me, that's basically it. Leadership is all about influence. And if you, before you create the influence, you need to have people who believe that you take responsibility. Okay. So the moment you run away from it, that's it. And so yes, of course, the fear of being judged, but then also they fear that when they take responsibility, there's some kind of I don't know if is that they think that I lose my value as a leader or something like that. But that's the point. You don't lose your value as a leader if you want to take on you want to be accountable, or if you say you're accountable to your followers, or you don't lose your credibility. What you do is that you actually boost it. Okay, like Ashraf is saying, people think that when you are accountable or when you actually own up, you are actually going to be judged that, oh, this guy is not even credible, he's not even competent. But no, I think that also helps you to even build up more or even build up better. So yes, what Ashraf said is actually basically what I'm siding with, and also saying that leaders are usually afraid of people downplaying on their credibility as well. So they try to run away from accountability. But then also, accountability comes with responsibility. Once you avoid it, everything dies off. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gideon. I would encourage everyone in the comment section to just engage, ask questions, answer questions. What's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on leaders who take accountability for their actions? So let's bring this more closer to our day-to-day life. Let's bring it to Ghana. When a leader fails or disappoints others, what does a value-based response actually look like? When a leader fails or disappoints their employees, their family, their friends, what does a value-based response actually look like? Gideon, would you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think if I get you right, is what should a leader do when they fail? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes. So I think you should own up, be honest
Mm.
about your failure, because I mean, if you don't own up, you are not able to grow. So you just own up. Simply, for what I say is just own up and accept your failure and tell them where things went wrong. Explain to them that, hey, this is what I did wrong. This is what happened. This is why failure came. Accept constructive criticism and take it out from there. I think that's what a leader should do when they fail at something. Because Ashraf was mentioning that everyone is human, and once we are all humans, we fail at some point. And no one becomes successful without failing. So you have to fail a couple of times. From success stories we've heard from billionaires and so many successful people, it's all because they failed many times and have learned from their failures and eventually became exceptionally great and known worldwide. So as a leader, you need to acknowledge the fact that I have failed. Tell your followers and your audience, I have failed. This is why I failed. And these are the new steps that I am taking. I think that is what a leader should do in order to even build trust, confidence in the people that you are leading. They need to trust you for that. But if you go on shifting the blame, trust me, you lose them in the end. So yeah, I think they should take ownership, account for the mistakes, what happened for the mistake to occur, and then take it from there. That's what I think. Maybe
Yes.
Ashraf has something to add.
Yes.
So I think what I would say is that communication is the key in everything.
Yeah,
In everything, communication is very powerful, and if you understand how to navigate your way through communication, I don't think there is anything that will actually look like a mistake, or that would be a mistake. So even when you make a mistake, you know how to tell people this is the reason why the mistake happened, and this is what we are doing to correct it, and this is how we are making sure that this mistake is not going to happen again. So if you're able to use your communications well, I believe that there is nothing to be afraid of when it comes to admitting mistake. You just have to because the people you want to tell that you have made a mistake, they are humans. And so if you know how to speak in a way that they will understand you, there is nothing to fear when you are
yeah.
admitting a mistake.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so true. But before we go on our break, I want to ask just this one question before we go. What are some values you were taught growing up by your parents or your aunties, your uncle, your relatives, and which one of those values still use day to day?
Well, I
So
think that's all of us
Ashraf,
our questions. Ashraf,
Ghana,
go ahead.
yeah.
I think for me, growing up, I was taught to be respectful and see everybody as equal. It is one thing that I've always held so tight in my leadership journey, seeing everybody as equal to the extent that I didn't even like to be called senior back in SHS. I didn't want to be called senior Ashraf. I didn't want to be called Mr. President, even when I'm the president of a club. I just wanted to be called Ashraf because I believe that when you follow titles, you will end up chasing authority when what you should be looking at is legitimacy. And the only way that you can get legitimacy as a leader is just to hold on to the title, I mean, to the values of seeing everybody to be equal, to the values of integrity, and to the values of respect and accountability. So the values that I was taught from growing up have always been respect, integrity, seeing everybody as equal, being accountable, and I'm still very strong on them till date. I'm using them very tight.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think we are not so different. Mine was, I grew up in a care home, and so it's all about being respectful to everybody and being humble and learning that you cannot infringe on other person's rights, because we are all from the same background and we are all in the same community, so you have to respect everybody. But growing up and moving out of the center, you know, going through life and learning new things, integrity became the center of everything that I do, right? Integrity, accountability, service, and fairness. That is it for me. To at all times, I have to make sure that I don't pretend to be something that I am not, and at all times, I make sure that I am able to use my position to help others. So if I know something, the objective is to help somebody else. If there's a situation that needs my attention, or there's a situation that needs me to be present and help deliver or solve an issue, I make sure that I am fair. And so I tell people all the time, if something is A, make sure that it is you say it as it is. You don't go about saying something else. So and also I like it has also helped me to build my relationship with people, and I'm able to filter. Okay, when I say filter, is that when I meet individuals who do not align with my personal values, I'm unable to live with them. Okay, when I meet you and you do not have or you do not embody any value of integrity or accountability, service, and fairness, it's very difficult for me to live with you. So when I meet you, straight away, I let you understand that this is the kind of person I am, and you should be able to tell me when I'm doing something out of the way, and I'll tell you when you're doing something out of the way. So you know on the ground from the onset, you know that I'm not happy with you if you start lying. You know that I'm not happy with you if you start, being harsh, you start being dishonest, you start, treating people without respect. And like Ashraf also said, I also prefer to be called Gideon and not Sir, not Mr. I tell people all the time, just go by my name. It's better. The only time that I use Mr. is when you're calling my surname. That one you can go ahead, but beyond that, just call me Gideon, no Sir or any sort of. But yeah, those are my personal values that I've been growing up with and I'm working around with. And I think I've earned some good friends because of the fact that I portrayed integrity and accountability most of the time. And I've won some friends because of that. So I think it's great. And I'm happy that I'm sharing this because anytime I share, it helps me to also grow it more and more.
Yes, thank you so much, Gideon. Let me just go to the comments and see how everyone is engaging.
Yeah.
Okay, so from Dr. Marvis, that's key. Accountability and integrity are twin pillars of effective leadership. Together, they shape trust, credibility, and lasting influence. That is so true, Dr. Marvis. Thank you so much. From Russell, we have, sure, I agree, even if you are going to be judged. Yes. This is amazing. I am glad that we are all on the same page with accountability and how leadership is supposed to be. So let's go on a quick break. Today's webinar series is brought to you by Burka Africa and Gurus. Great news for HR and management professionals in Liberia. International Professional HR Certification course. This is an amazing course that starts on the 7th of February, 2026, and it is for 10 Saturdays online, and the time is going to be from 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I encourage and entreat you all to join in and just be filled and be motivated in your HR circle to do more and learn more. The Fifth Invaluable Laws of Growth is another course with Norel Company Limited and Burka Africa. This is also an amazing course that starts on the 12th of February 2026, and it is for 8 weeks, and it's only 2250 USD. It is only 250 USD. It's from every Thursday 7 to 8 p.m. EAT. I entreat you all to just plug in and join in. This is a great course and a great price. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have been talking about leadership, ethics, integrity, and accountability. So this question will go for Ashraf. What ethical challenges do young people commonly face today in school, at work, online, that you would say we don't often shed light on or talk about?
Like we spoke about when we started, pressure
Mm,
from friends, pressure from family. You know, there are people who deep down they know what they should be doing. They know the right thing to do. They understand and know their values, but sometimes they need to want to fit in. They need to want to be a part of something, of a group.
mm,
It's leading a lot of youth into doing so many things that are against their principles and their values. So I think that it is something that we should pay attention to, speaking into the youth to make them be people of value, make them be people of their words, make them be people who actually say, this is what I want to do, and regardless or no matter what kind of pressure that is coming from external forces, they need to
mm,
stand on what they believe in, the values they believe in. So basically, I would say pressure, and then also chasing validation. You know,
mm,
there are so many people who are leading, and they think that before their purpose is actually done is until the vice chancellor knows that he was actually the SRC president, or until people from other school know that he was the SRC president, and they
mm.
spend a lot of time wanting to impress people so that they can be recognized, than spending time to see how best they can help the people that are following them. So basically, these are the two main challenges that I think student leaders are facing, which we are not really talking about.
Yes, thank you. That's awesome. I completely agree. Gideon, what would you say about this? What are some ethical challenges young people commonly face today?
I think that Ashraf just mentioned one, but also um, honesty and trust,
Mm,
or truthfulness. Honesty and truthfulness. Let me use that word. I think, especially in Ghana here, our daily lives is just guided by survival. So it's just about how you can make ends meet, and whatever brings in the resources. It doesn't matter where you pass. It doesn't matter what you do. I remember I was having a conversation with this friend of mine, and I said, this year, by hook or crook, whatever has to happen, there must be some level of change. And he said, be careful what you say. Then I have to change my mind and say, whatever happens by God's grace. Because when you say crook, it means that you are willing to compromise your
mm,
personal values for anything, whether it is good or bad. You are willing to compromise for it. So I think that um, truthfulness, because someone, let me use this as an example. I mentioned earlier that we are in a country where everybody is living by survival. So whatever they have to do to survive, they will do that. 2023, I was working with a company as an accounts officer, and I had every week we have, I think, 2,500, sometimes 2,000 as how do you call it, petty cash, and I keep that. So I went to my CEO, and the CEO, we had at the beginning of the week, we had to make accounts, send what we have to send to the bank, keep what we have to keep. And then at the office, when I was going counting the petty cash, I noticed that it was 500 more than what was supposed to be given. And that was me sitting there contemplating on whether I should send that 500 cities back, because the whole of the week there was nothing on me. There was no money. There was absolutely nothing. I was just living by survival. Okay, you can be working and still not have the resources that will make you comfortable. So I was just thinking, do I take this money back or do I keep it to myself? At a point, I just couldn't compromise on my personal value, so I had to take it to the CEO. Unfortunately, what I got to notice is that it never got to the CEO. It was never recorded as maybe the money that we've accounted or something. And so, because everybody is trying to survive, so I think being truthful to ourselves, being truthful to the people we work with, and being honest about everything we do, I think
Mm.
that is one common thing that we face every single time. People go to the job market, or people are in the offices, procurement, they want to go to the market and get a list or invoice, and they say, hey, make it 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, when the thing actually costs 1,000 Ghana cedis. And they come back, and the bosses are okay, let's pay. They pay for it. They go to the vendors, they take their cut, and then it's like they are costing the company
Mm.
at their own, at the cost of their own values, or they compromise their values just to, get something to survive on. So for me, I think being honesty and truthful to yourself, as well as that of the company or people you work with, is the common values that people, usually face: truthfulness, and then honesty. But also, what causes them to do that is the daily living and survival of the
Yeah.
everyday life that we have to go through. That is also causing them to, not be able to live up to this standard. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you so much for sharing, Gideon. That was such a true story, and I feel many of us would relate to that
Yeah.
story. Now, for you personally, looking ahead in the next 5 or 10 years, what values would you want people to associate with your name?
Well, I mentioned it. One, integrity,
Mm.
accountability, service, and fairness.
Mm.
I'm leading a youth organization and YDP Ghana, and I definitely work with sponsors and partners and a lot of stakeholders. If for any reason I compromise on any of these, I'm definitely compromising on the organization and the success of the organization.
Yeah.
And I have personal ambitions, very huge ambitions, and the moment I compromise on these, it's going to affect my personal, individual brand, as well as my personal ambition. So tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, till the day God has given me to live on earth ends, what I want people to know is that Gideon is a person who lives integrity, a person who loves accountability, a person who lives in service, and a person who is fair to all. And being fair also comes with respect for everybody. So that I think is what I want to be remembered for. I want to be known for, and that's what I also want to live.
Yes, thank you. Ashraf, what would you want to say? What ethical values would you want people to associate with your name in the coming years?
Well, just like Gideon said, I think there are some common values that every leader would want to be remembered for, and these are integrity. Integrity is one value that will speak for itself even when nobody is speaking for you. It will speak for
Mm.
you even when you are not there. That is integrity. So I want to be remembered for how I stand on my words and how much I respect my principles and my values. And I also want people to say that he is the leader who will do the work even if there is no camera. He is the leader who will do the work even when it is inconvenient. I want people to say he is the leader who will do it even if there is no benefit attached, because I believe that leadership is not supposed to be something that you are supposed to be paid for. It is service. It is for me, leadership is just passion.
Mm.
It's just passion. So yeah, I want to be remembered for how I stand on my words, integrity, how accountable I am, and how much I love to do things. I mean, leadership activities without thinking of the benefits, the convenience, or the fame that comes along with it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Uh, in today's society that there is technology and social media, how would you say social media and digital space test our honesty, our respect, and also our sense of responsibility? Would you think social media plays a big role in how leaders behave or how leaders act?
Well, I think social media is a tool that can make you or unmake you. I mean, we've seen people who have become somebody and great leaders through social media. We've also seen great leaders who have fallen simply because they made a comment on social media. So, social media is like the devil of our time. The devil and the angel at the same time. It is you who will choose where to go. So sometimes it triggers you. It triggers you to test these values in you. It is just one way to test the values of a leader or a person. Social media is one of it. So I quickly want to talk about the what is happening in Nigeria right now with Wizkid and the legendary fella Nicola Kukuti. You know, Wizkid is somebody that is respected. He's somebody who has made music for the younger generations, and he's selling his name. People really love him. People talk about him. Grown-ups talk about him. He's just a young kid. And recently, he has one or two banter with somebody, apparently Kuti's son, on social media. Social media. Now, Kuti's Wizkid's FC, I mean, his fan base started saying that Wizkid is greater than Fela. You know, Fela is a legendary. Wizkid himself has a tattoo of Fela on his hand. Wizkid himself knows that this man is a legendary. Now, it is his fan base. It's just his fan base who decided to start saying this thing. Okay. But he chose the devil aspect of social media by going to write on his page that he is actually bigger than Fela. Now, it has made
Oh, I think we've lost Ashraf.
somebody who
Okay.
is doing so well.
Okay, he's back.
Did I lose you before?
Yes, we
Yeah,
couldn't hear
we
the latter
lost
part.
you for a little bit.
At
Just go back two
so,
seconds.
so I was saying that he went onto his page.
Oh,
Hmm, I think we're having a little network issue.
yeah.
Let me read some comments and see what everybody else is thinking of today's conversation. Okay, so
Can,
from
can
Russell
you hear me?
Enterprise,
Yeah, we can hear you now. You went off again.
yes. Just let me read some comments
Yeah.
and see what
So
everyone is thinking of
okay.
today's conversation before you continue. The pressure given is bad, especially from family. They make us feel useless. Okay, Russell, I understand you. The pressure given from mom and dad is tough sometimes. From Dr. Marvis, it says, "Don't worry, Gideon. You did the right thing by returning the money. Even if those who took it never accounted for it, your decision reflects your values, and that was integrity on your part." Thank you so much.
Thank
Gideon,
you.
what do you have to say to that comment?
I just yeah, I feel like it was a good thing to do. I thank you very much for sharing that, and I appreciate that you've recognized that I'm living by my values, and of course, I wish to continue to do this and be like this everywhere. There are times where you even face even much greater. There are lots of the examples, but I'm grateful at least there's an endorsement that it's good to have integrity even when no one is watching. Thank you very much, Adiza.
Yes. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the webinar. Let me just ask this question. What role can young people realistically play in promoting ethical leadership in our communities and the nation at large? And how wisely can we do this without putting ourselves at risk? Gideon, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, yes, I think there are ways that we can actually do this, without putting yourself at risk. So for young people, I think what we need to do at all times is to refuse, especially bribery, refuse corruption, because that's some things that also build or feed into our ethical values, or even feeds into our personal and core values. Now, we for example, um, there was an instance where I was supposed to inflate a budget. Okay, I work with this other organization that we were supposed to inflate a budget because we were working with students, and I had to inflate a budget so that when the budget goes to the authority, they approve it, and then I get a share. And for me, when I went to the market, whatever I got is what I brought to my boss. And whatever they did, I don't know, but I had a feeling that they inflated it at their end. And so for every young person, this is the part that you do. When they ask you to do something, you do not fight it, you do not go on to report it to authorities, because at that moment, there's a time where you have to blow the whistle. They call it whistle blowing. Okay. They call it whistle blowing, and you have to be careful. Sometimes you are protected, sometimes you are not protected. So if you want to go behind the bosses who are actually engaging in all those, um, filthy, let me use that word in quote, activities, you just have to be careful to know how to approach it and reporting it to other superiors. But what you have to do is also make sure that you know what your values are, avoid pressures that is coming from your friends, and also make sure that you avoid all the corruption and briberies that comes your way. I think that's how you live your values. Do not at any point in time compromise it for the benefit of another person or for anything. Just make sure that you avoid it. It's better to avoid than to say that let me find myself in the situation and then solve the problem later. It never happens like that. It never works like that. So what I think young people can do without putting themselves in problem is to avoid it in the first place. If you know that this is something that could get you into trouble, that's going against your personal values, but also get you into trouble. My advice is that don't get near to it. Don't get near it in the first place. Sometimes it will also compromise the work you do, your relationship with the people you do. At a point, you will have to report if that is influencing your behavior. Please go ahead and report to people, but also make sure that you have some form of coverage, because once you go and talk about it, it has to have evidence to protect you. Otherwise, you become the fish in a very big pond or a very small pond, a big fish in a small pond. You are not able to do anything. Yeah, so that's me. That's my word to everyone. How we can help ourselves not to compromise our values for anything.
Mm, yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Gideon. Ashraf, what's your opinion on this? How would you answer this question? Okay, I don't think we have Ashraf at this moment, but let's look at the comments and see what's going on. Okay, so we have from Dr. Marvin, so true. Social media doesn't forget, so we should be careful what we put on there. Very, very true. From Azi, she says, great submission from both speakers. This session reminds us to always do the right thing, even when no one is watching, and that stays honest. Thank you so much. That is so true. And I feel like, Gideon, today, your message and your stories has really impacted and, just sown a seed in everyone of how leaders should, behave and react in certain situations. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you too. Thank you. I'm
Yes,
glad I shared. Yeah.
thank you. So what stands out to me from today's webinar series? Oh, hi, Ashraf. You're with us. So let me just throw this question back to you. Are you still there? Oh, I think he's
Yeah,
having
I think
some
it's
network issues.
network. Yeah.
Where
Okay.
I'm living is a new site, so network over here is very, very
Yes,
difficult to get. But yeah, I
it's
think we are
okay.
good.
Yeah. Let me just throw this question back to you. What role can young people realistically play in promoting ethical leadership in our communities and the nation at large? And also, how can
Come
we do
again. Come
this
again.
wisely? What role can young people play in promoting ethical leadership in our communities and the nation at large? And how can we wisely do this without putting ourselves at risk?
I think that first of all, we need to look at channels of communication when issues become ways that will compromise our values and integrity. And then also there is responsible documentation. Now, in the act of leadership, young leaders should learn the art of documentation, responsible documentation. Now, these things help you to go back and check some of the things that you are your principles. This thing gives you the opportunity to be able to vindicate yourself when issues that can compromise your values come up. So I think basically, and for us to be able to promote national development and social change, just like you said, I believe that before this thing can happen in a nation, then we need to have value-based leadership. And for value-based leadership to happen, these are some of the fundamental principles as humans that we need to look at: integrity, accountability, ethical manners. So if young people can inculcate these characteristics into leadership, we are going to have a next generation of leaders who are very keen on values. And once that is there, corruption will not be something that people are going to tolerate in the leadership space. And trust me, what I believe is that when corruption as a whole is taken out of a system of governance, there is about 70% progress happening already. So, and the youth should look at channels of communication when it comes to issues that compromise their values. They should also have document system where they can refer to be able to stand on their values, and also document things that happen in the service, so that when issues come up and it can compromise their values, they can, refer to these documents to vindicate themselves. In general, this is what I think the youth
Yes,
should.
thank you so much. Speaking of documentation, we have a comment from Georges, and he says, I could recall what Gideon shared just yesterday when I was buying something, and I was requesting for a receipt. The vendor was saying, how much should I write? How much should he write on the Gideon, you know
Exactly.
that story?
Exactly.
Do you want to
That
share it?
happens. So
Yeah.
yeah, the moment they ask you inflate it, you get to the market, you buy the things, and they tell you how much should I put in on the receipt. So you have one to go and present to the authorities, and you
Mm-hmm.
have one that you use. And the moment the money is paid or the money is given to you to go and pay, you take your card, you share with whoever is giving you the receipt, you take your card, and then you are good to go. But like judges said and like you read, once you know your values, you just tell the person, please go ahead, write it as it is. There's no way to, take money that is not yours. So just write it as it is. So that is actually, I think this is also as a reason, or this is also because of our survival
Mm-hmm.
nature of living in this country. Everybody wants to survive. But I think that when we have these values, we go beyond just survival tactics. We live within what is actual and what is reality, because people out there are looking at us for who we are, and not just by living by tactics. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
judges, thank you very much for that comment.
Yes, thank you so much. You have been great speakers. As we're coming to the end of this webinar series, I would say what stands out for me from this conversation is that value-based leadership isn't about perfection. It's about consistency, it's about courage, and it's about accountability. If each
Yeah.
of us commits to one value and practice it intentionally, we don't just become better leaders, we become trusted voices and we become change makers. So thank you so much, Gideon and Ashraf, for just your input, for your experiences in this conversation and this webinar. We really appreciate you.
Oh,
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I wanted to say us, but Asha was to say Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and to share my experiences and my journey, and as well as my personal values with you, with the entire world, and for all our audience who are watching. I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, I'm really grateful. I mean, the opportunity to share something is beautiful. I really appreciate it. But I'll end with sharing something with everyone. So there was an important job to be done, a very important job to be done, and everybody was asked to do it. Now, everybody was sure somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Now,
Mm.
somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. So the point is, if somebody would have taken responsibility, despite not having a title, despite not being appointed, despite not seeing any benefit attached to it, the job would have been done. And whatever was supposed to come out of that job was going to benefit the person and every other person who was there. So that is what this topic is talking about, value-based leadership. Taking up responsibility, speaking up, showing up, even when it is inconvenience, even when there is no title attached, and doing all of this, having some key values in mind: integrity, accountability, and ethics. So I believe that moving forward from here, we'll have more youth in leadership and exhibiting these values for us to have a very progressive nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, this has been an interactive and a reflective webinar series brought to you by Burka Africa in partners with Guru. Great news for HR and management professionals in Liberia International Professional HR Certification course. This is an amazing course that starts on the 7th of February, and it is duration for 10 Saturdays. 10 Saturdays, just 10 Saturdays for this course. The time is 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I entreat you all HRs and HR professionals to engage this course. This is something you would not want to miss. Now, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth with Norel Company Limited and Burka Africa. This course is also starting on the 12th of February, 2026. The course fee is $250 USD and it's lasting for 8 weeks, just 8 weeks for this amazing course. And it is every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. EAT. Okay, this brings us to the end of today's webinar series. Thank you all so much for engaging. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions in the comments. This has been an amazing series. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
As the corporate sector evolves, Burka Africa remains committed to cultivating world-class thought leaders and providing innovative, human-centered solutions that shape a prosperous future for African governments and businesses. About Burka Africa. Burka Africa is a platform that houses expert consultants from across the African sub-region that provide strategic sustainable leadership, organizational development, corporate governance, coaching, and ESG advisory services to businesses and African governments. Burka's strategic thrust is to strengthen strategic alignment for Africa's development by bridging the gap between governments, businesses, and industry experts for leadership and business solutions, serving as a center for excellence and transformative leadership insights in Africa. The consortium is dedicated to shaping ethical, visionary, productive, and sustainable businesses and leadership across Africa. Through advisory, training, and coaching, Burka supports executives, managers, and organizations in achieving excellence, growth, and sustainable impact. Visit our website www.burkafrica.com for more information.